All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Manny Pacquiao versus Terence Crawford falls through apparently because Manny Pacquiao says he is not fighting this year, according to Freddie Roach, and he might only have 1 or 2 fights left in his career, period. So, what you gonna do, Terence? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, and I can tell you, we saw this coming. Manny Pacquiao, according to Freddie Roach, got 1 or 2 more fights left, and he's not going to fight in 2020. So, that affects Terence Crawford, and it affects the welterweight division because Manny Pacquiao is the WBA welterweight champion. Now, Terence Crawford, let me start with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao had 2 fights that people were very, very interested in, and 3 fights that I know of that he was looking that had a potential of being made. And those are the fights with Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, and Mikey Garcia. That's my understanding. And the leader, from what it looked like it was going on in the press for that fight, was Mikey Garcia. But now that Manny Pacquiao says that he's not going to fight in 2020, then that means that Terence Crawford, who listed 2 people as his potential fights, one Manny Pacquiao, the other one Kell Brook. This is Bob Arum, Terence Crawford promoter, saying this. The option for Manny Pacquiao is gone. Now, what we said on this channel and several other channels said it as well, no doubt about it, was that all of the conversation about Terence Crawford fighting Manny Pacquiao is just talk. It's not going to happen, and it wasn't going to happen for several reasons. First reason it wasn't going to happen is because, in my opinion, or one of the reasons why I believed that it wasn't going to happen, is that because if that was a fight that was serious, that Manny Pacquiao was seriously considering, or Top Rank wanted to see, they would have made it when Manny Pacquiao was fighting Terence Crawford while they would have made the fight while Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford were both signed with Top Rank. Terence Crawford wanted to fight. Manny Pacquiao said he wanted to fight, but Bob Arum comes out and says, we already knew. Well, he later admits that we didn't want Manny Pacquiao to fight Terence Crawford because we knew how that fight was going to come out. Manny Pacquiao was going to get mashed, and we didn't want to do that to Manny Pacquiao. Now, that statement alone should tell you something about Bob Arum and Bob Arum's viewpoint, or Top Rank's viewpoint, on Terence Crawford. If you will now, because at the time this fight happened, this stuff happened, Manny Pacquiao had already fought Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? This is around the time that they were picking between fighting Manny Pacquiao, whether it was going to be who Manny Pacquiao was going to fight, and they picked Jeff Horn, right? So that fight didn't happen then. I don't believe the fight was going to happen now that Manny Pacquiao is no longer with Top Rank, because I just can't really see Manny Pacquiao wanting to continue to work with Bob Arum, because Bob Arum was getting over on Manny Pacquiao for years and preventing Manny Pacquiao from going out and becoming his own promoter, all kind of stuff that Manny Pacquiao's team had accused Bob Arum of doing. So I didn't think that Manny Pacquiao was going to work with Bob Arum, or it looked like it was going to be a hard sell. Similar to the situation with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. A lot of the problems with that fight were related, at least in my opinion, were related to Bob Arum and Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s rough working relationship, right? So anyway, that fight's not going to happen. That fight's not going to happen for Terence Crawford. So now Terence Crawford is saying that he wants to fight, so the other guy that was out there for Terence Crawford is Kell Brook, and they offered Kell Brook, according to reports, $1.5 million, $1.5 million for that fight. So both of those fights, really, I mean, I would be surprised. It's not completely impossible, but I would be surprised if Kell Brook fought for $1.5 million. Now, what is Terence Crawford going to do? Terence Crawford can't fight. It's like everybody in the PBC now is off the table for Manny Pacquiao. I mean, for Terence Crawford. But Manny Pacquiao was never really truly on the table. So moving forward, what does this mean, right? Manny Pacquiao, I think, probably has one fight left. I don't think it's going to be two fights. I think it's probably going to be one fight. And I do think it's going to be like a coup de grace type of fight with somebody that he can beat and go out with a big bang, and people can go around talking about how he's the greatest fighter of all time, right? And people are actually doing that now, saying that Manny Pacquiao is the greatest fighter of all time, which is like, dude, you can't possibly know what all time is. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't know, and this is real, man. Blood Boxing has said this, dude, and I, man, 100% behind him on this. There's not a lot of people who really know enough about like the 18th century, the 1900 and 1910 or 1900, really to 1970, right into the 1980s, for them to make a determination about how Manny Pacquiao stacks up. What people like that really mean is that Manny Pacquiao is their favorite fighter ever, and that's fair. But the greatest ever, no. Now, what does that mean for the WBA belt in the welterweight division? Well, that means that Terence Crawford is eventually going to have to fight one of these guys that he said he doesn't want to fight, right? So and it's going to be for a while, because he's going to fight in 2021, and more than likely it's going to be around the May, June time frame. He might actually wait it out until you're able to have people in the stands. So that could be after they come up with a vaccine for the issue that's going around. It's just, you might as well just take Manny Pacquiao out of the equation for Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Crawford. So since we know the other option for Manny Pacquiao to end his career is a fight with Errol Spence Jr. Now, because if Manny Pacquiao is going to fight one or the other on a pay-per-view towards the end of his career, I promise you it is going to be Errol Spence Jr. before it is Terence Crawford. Number one, Manny Pacquiao makes more money for fighting Errol Spence Jr. than he does Terence Crawford, for multiple reasons. Number one, they're both pay-per-view stars. They both are pay-per-view stars independent of one another. So when they come together, it's going to be two separate fan bases coming together, legitimate fan bases that can be identified by the last pay-per-view or the last 2 or 3 pay-per-views that Errol Spence Jr. has been on. Because at the time that this fight happens, it would have been 3, right? Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, and Mikey Garcia. So more than likely, that's where Manny Pacquiao is going to go if he's going to take a serious fight to end his career. I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's more than likely going to take like a Mikey Garcia or somebody like that, where, it's a good name. It's somebody that, is respected in the sport of boxing and has an excellent skill set. I don't think he would go out and fight somebody that's just absolutely a wash, right? Going out the door. So maybe like a Mikey Garcia. If he's going to do 1 or 2 fights, I would suspect it would be Mikey Garcia, then Errol Spence. But if the winner of, I should give Danny Garcia that much respect. I'm going to give Danny Garcia that much respect. It's going to be the winner of Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia would be fighting, Manny Pacquiao would fight that guy after he fights Mikey Garcia. Now, Mikey Garcia might actually beat him. You know what I mean? And I think I might pick Mikey Garcia to beat him. That says a lot about Manny Pacquiao that I'm kind of questioning whether or not at this stage in his career, whether or not Mikey Garcia can beat him. But I'm pretty confident that Mikey Garcia can beat him. If he fights Mikey Garcia and then he loses, then now you have, either Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia, holding the WBC and the IBF. You'll have Mikey Garcia holding the WBA. And if that's the case, shoot, Mikey Garcia might say, hey, man, I'm in the mood for a rematch with Errol Spence Jr. Let's get it on. And guess what? PBC, the people in the PBC that count the money will say, let's do Mikey Garcia. Because Mikey Garcia just beat Manny Pacquiao. Hey, he's obviously better at the weight class now than he was before. Let's redo that fight. Errol Spence will be like, yeah, I didn't knock him out. Not quite ready to move to 154 yet because I do want to unify all the belts. That fight happens. And then maybe when it's all said and done, Errol will still give Terence Crawford a fight. But, that I do believe is what Terence Crawford is waiting for anyway. But anyway, man, if Manny Pacquiao, as far as Manny Pacquiao goes, if Manny Pacquiao fights 2 more fights and retires, great career, sir. Great career. All-time great. Ups and downs with what I saw from Manny Pacquiao throughout his career and my opinion about Manny Pacquiao. But, no matter what happens, dude, this cat is a classic. He's going to go down as a classic, and it's just what it is. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. With that, I'm out. Peace.